Okay, good morning, everyone. It is today, Tuesday, the 1st of March. We're in the first day of the month of the final month of the quarter for 2022. So time continues to march forwards, doesn't it? I want to talk today about a really important subject because each of us are involved within our various businesses and responsibilities that we have, a central activity for all of us, regardless of who we are, what rank we hold, however long we've been in the business. A fundamental behavior and activity is sales, right? We need to be able to perform in that capacity, do well. We have customers, we have business partners. And the reality is, of course, even if we're not talking to customers where we anticipate the direct sale contact and experience happening, we're still in sales when we're talking with our business partners, aren't we? When we're persuading them, helping them to understand, helping them to engage, helping them to be productive and move forward, to set goals, to achieve certain milestones. And so that's all sales related activity. Yeah. In fact, technically speaking, even within our own home environments, we're constantly dealing with sales types of conversations. Yeah, my children are constantly negotiating with me for certain things that they want. Yeah, and they learn some good sales skills. I remember a few years ago when some of my oldest were quite young, they really wanted to have a pet dog. I was not interested in having a dog. And we had lots of discussions backwards and forwards about why it would be good, why it wouldn't be good, how much they probably wouldn't look after it and all that kind of stuff. And I remember one evening getting a letter posted under my door to my bedroom. It was about 6 pages long, written by my two oldest boys, that gave me a compelling argument of all the reasons why we should have a dog, then all the reasons why I might be inclined to say no, and then a counter argument of all the reasons why those points are wrong and incorrect and invalid. It was a fascinating thing. I have to say, as a conclusion to that story, we now have a dog. they won the battle, and who's looking after it most of the time? It's me. I'm looking after it. So, but there we go. That's a different story. But my point is, sales happens from a very young age in every facet of our lives, and it's certainly woven into every aspect of our business if we want to do well. So why am I talking about this? I want to share with you a quote from some statistics that were from a research study that was done a number of years ago. A consulting team was asked by a major biotech firm to conduct a 6-month-long double-blind study of its sales force. The purpose of the study was to determine what behaviors separated top salespeople from the average ones. Very interesting study, right? What separates the best from the mediocre? The study revealed something no one expected. This is really interesting. The top performers all had a far more pronounced sense of purpose than their average counterparts. Those that did the best were those that had a greatest sense of purpose in what they did. I think that's really fascinating. She goes on to say, let me just pull out this next point here. The science shows that the secret to high performance, and I hope everyone's taking notes here because I'm sure there are lots of us that are saying, okay, what's the secret to being a great salesperson here, to get the most customers, to get the most recruits? How can I get the most rank advancements in my team? You know, what's the difference? Maybe those guys that are doing it really well have got some type of secret formula that they are using. I'm sure that certainly process plays a part, but it's not the main part. The science shows that the secret to high performance isn't our biological drive or our reward and punishment drive, but our third drive, our deep-seated desire to direct our own lives, to expand and extend our abilities, and to live a life of purpose. Humans by nature seek purpose, a cause greater and more enduring than themselves. Now, I think that is huge. So I want to talk about that today and talk about, first of all, what does that purpose look like? How do we develop it? And how does it relate to other aspects of our business? Yoko, you've raised your hand. Do you want to unmute and say something?
It's real, coming from someone that's got years of business experience, it comes so clear in that one statement. because you could see all the different levels and supposedly top people in different businesses, but they all had this particular, like you're saying, own personal key. And I could tell you even for myself,
Yeah.
I can't believe at my age, I'm doing more than I ever did because I love what I'm doing
Yeah.
and what it does.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's
Purpose.
an absolute privilege. Yeah. But finding that purpose is critical, isn't it? I want to share a picture here and get your perspective on it. Okay. So these are the 6 P's of business. Can you see these? So across the screen here, we have process, profit, promotion, people, and product. And at the center there, we have our purpose, our sales purpose. What is our reason for being? Now we know, for example, if we get skewed towards one, for example, profit, if we make our business all about making money, that's why I'm here, that's why I exist, that's what it's all about, then the other aspects of the other P's kind of suffer as a consequence. The lines between these are important to emphasize because the challenge for business and us as business owners is to get balance between each of these 5 areas. And I'm talking around these ones on the outside here just for a minute. The process, profit, people, products, promotion, and so on. When we pull on one, if we're trying to do something where we, for example, this promotion here is like marketing promotion. How do I promote myself? How do I promote my business? How do I promote my services, what we offer? Yeah, how am I using that? When we pull on that, perhaps that's going to, as a result, pull on profit, pulling it in the other direction, because there's maybe going to be a cost associated with that. If I'm focusing on developing people, well, that might have a bit of a tug on process. What are the processes I have in place to manage my people? If I look at product and looking at, we're in a unique situation because Nikan takes care of that for us. But that again impacts things like profitability, promotion, people, process, all that type of thing. You can see they are all interconnected. And our task as business owners is to find balance there. How do we get the balance? By getting this one front and center. We want to get balance in these other 5 areas, but in order to do that, we need to have this as our center. Our center has to be our purpose. When we get purpose at the forefront of what we're doing, these other things will start to fall into place. I heard someone once say that life is a little bit like a horse race, and each horse in the race represents different roles and responsibilities we have in life. Husband or wife, mother or father, business owner, community participant, churchgoer, whatever it might be, friend, family member. We've got all of these different areas of our lives, and they're all racing and competing against each other continually. Yeah. And sometimes one will get far out ahead or one might lag behind. And our task is then to get that one that's lagging behind, maybe bring it forward. Or if one's racing ahead at the cost of the others, learn to balance it. It's a balancing act where we want to get all of them running at an even pace. Yeah, but that's a challenge, isn't it? If we get our purpose front and center, that helps us to balance the other areas of our business. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second and ask you a question. You can put it in the chat if you wish. This is potentially more of a rhetorical question right now because we're at the start of the call. But what's your driving purpose? Now, I think it's important to emphasize here as well that our life purpose can be slightly different here to our business purpose. Our business purpose should tie into, it maybe is, what's the word? It's not a little bit synonymous with our life purpose. It's certainly integrated. It certainly relates. It certainly ties into, but our life purpose might be something far deeper, richer, and more compelling because it's overarching over many aspects. But we still need to have a very clear mission or purpose in our business. Hopefully something that will drive us to fulfill and to realize our life's purpose in greater measure. Yeah, there's got to be an interconnectedness there, but we can appreciate that our business aspirations and goals feed into our life mission versus become our life mission. Yeah, when we're on our deathbeds, I've heard it said plenty of times that people are very rare to say, I wish I spent more time at the office. Yeah, they don't say that on the deathbed, right? They say other things. Other things are more important. Everything else becomes secondary real fast, right? So we've got our life purpose, our life mission. Our business purpose is important and it feeds into that and it plays a part, but we can recognize and appreciate that there is a little bit of difference there as well. So here's the question for you. What's your business purpose? What's your reason for being in Nikan? Now, like I said, this is a rhetorical question right now. I'd perhaps invite you to write it down to give yourself some time to think about this. I was at a meeting. I've got an answer coming through already. Let's check out the, Maggie said, being part of something greater than myself that makes a difference in the consciousness of the planet. I love that, Maggie. That's something that seems already very well thought through and very articulate. That's wonderful. We want to have a statement like that when we get to the end of this exercise today that leaves our business mission and purpose clear, concise, and compelling. It's got to be exciting. It's got to motivate and inspire us. It's got to be something, as Maggie put, that represents a cause greater than me in order for me to really want to be a part of it and drive it. It might be your business mission, but your mission is not exclusively about you. It's bigger than that. It always is. Yeah, especially if you're wanting to bring other people into that equation and have them participate. That's what makes a good leader in this business, is we can all be a part of this cause together, yeah, and move forward. So to that end, I want to share, I was at a business meeting in Birmingham, England a few years ago with Nikan, and we were talking a little bit about this subject, and we were explaining that when you've got a compelling why behind your business, you'll always find the how, yeah? If you don't, you can get caught up and stuck in the hows and the mechanics of things till the cows come home, yeah? Trying to figure out different ways to be technically more proficient, effective, or meaningful. But if you don't have a compelling why, you're going to labor there like you're stuck in the mud for quite some time, yeah? So we were talking about, what's your why? What's your reason for being here? And there was this one lady, I may have shared the story with you before. She was sat at the front of the room, very, very enthusiastically participating, and she throws her hand up, you know, all excited. I've got a reason for being here, and it's really exciting. It's really important. So I asked her, what's your reason? Tell me, tell the group. And she said, I've just recently overcome a terminal illness. Yeah, my life was near its end. Sorry about that. Let me turn that off. There we go. My life was at its end, near its end, and I got better. I got better, and I don't have that terminal illness anymore. It was huge. And she said, and so my purpose for being in Nikan now, she said, is to provide everyone, as many people as I can, a chance to appreciate the value of their health and to give them a chance to make it better. That was, what a great cause, yeah? And I mean, she was sharing it right from the heart. Her eyes were sparkling. She was enthusiastic and energetic about this. She had conviction behind that, passion. It was just wonderful. It was inspiring. And you could see as she was sharing the story that the others in the room were getting inspired by her excitement and conviction towards her own business purpose. As she sat there explaining it though, and as I saw other people getting excited, the lady sat in the row behind her, folded her arms like this, and then got a bit of a scowl on her face and kind of furrowed her eyebrows, looking like she was discontented with what she was hearing. And then she raises her hand, right? I know, as the facilitator of the meeting, I've seen that kind of response before. I know what's coming, right? I've got a complaint on my hands and it's a public one, right? Up her hand goes. And she goes, Ben, I've got a concern with what I've just heard. I've got a problem with that. I thought, well, that's very brave of you to say when she's just talked about recovering from a terminal illness. And I said, well, what's your concern? And she said, I've never had a terminal illness before. She said, I'm not saying I want one. I don't, right? She said, but my point is this. I've never had something big to overcome that's given me such a deep sense of purpose like she has. She said, I feel like a big tree, but with little roots. She said, as a consequence, I want to achieve a lot, but I don't feel like I've got that driving, motivating force behind me because I haven't actually overcome or conquered something huge or significant like that in my life that creates that emotion. What do I do about that? And I sat there and I listened and I thought, that is perhaps one of the most profound questions I have ever come across in my business career. That's a very, very good point that she's making. So I asked a question to the group. I said, by show of hands, how many of you relate to what this lady's saying? How many of you feel like big trees with little roots? The vast majority of the room put their hand up. They said it's always inspiring where we hear the success stories of people that started out dirt poor. And because their backs were against the wall and they were impoverished and they'd lost their jobs, they were about to lose their house, their car was breaking down all the time. I heard one story of a guy who lived in Canada who, the windows in his car wouldn't wind up, and he was a pizza delivery driver because that's all he could do as a single dad in the nighttime in Canada, driving pizzas in a car where the windows wouldn't wind up in the wintertime. He said, and you hear these stories, you go, oh my gosh, it's compelling, it's exciting, it's profound, and you hear the success story and you go, oh, I love it. But then for the majority of people, they go, I haven't had that experience. I've not had that moment. How do I get there? What do I do? Any of you relate to that? Was it just that group, or do you sit there going, yeah, that's a little bit of me in there. I want to have that greater connection. I can feel it, maybe somewhere inside of me, a bit like a seed that's wanting to grow, but I'm struggling to quite connect to it and know how to feed and nurture it, because I feel like this big tree, but I've just got this little root system right now, and I need to taproot that, get it deep and meaningful. I want to talk about how we can develop that deep, meaningful purpose, because if that is to be our priority, if that is to be something that is front and center, that gives the rest of our business key metrics some meaning and value and purpose, to get them all aligned and balanced so that we know how to get our processes right. We know how to focus on people. We know what profitability is truly worth in regards to what we sacrifice and invest in order to obtain it. If we know how we can balance our attention on the right products and promote them in a meaningful way that will resonate and connect with people, all of that will come into place and become almost second nature when we get our purpose right. Yeah. So how do we get that purpose? How do we develop it, grow it? I've got a couple of comments coming through the chat. I want to read them out so I don't leave them out. Pam Barnes has said, I've written 3 here and changed my mind. That it wasn't the thing. So many reasons why we love our Nikan business. We certainly need this as a homework assignment. My why has changed over my 23 years. Pam, I'd actually say it's good that it's changed a few times. I think as we evolve, our purpose and meaning evolves as well. So if it was the same as it was when you joined the business 23 years ago, I would suggest that maybe you haven't changed over 23 years. Yeah. So I think as we evolve and as we get more experience and more insight, our purpose and meaning evolves with it. Yeah. So see that as a good thing. That's my point. My mission, Linda's saying, to giving hope, helping other people evolve and or escape. I love that. Sherry, you got your hand up. Do you want to say something?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I love this discussion. And I think, I mean, my mission has been around other people, and it hasn't been in such a compelling way. And I think when you were saying, you know, if you don't have that, your back is against the wall kind of a thing.
Yeah.
How do you, but you know, then you're not as motivated maybe as somebody that is. But I think we all understand that there's plenty of people who are so in desperation of what we have to offer, whether it is from the product standpoint, whether it is to have the ability to make more money or to have more purpose and meaning in their life. So I think if we can understand that those people are out there. We may have a pretty good life, and to make the mission about lifting people up. So it's not clear in my head what to say about it, but this is a good conversation I'm glad I got on, even though it was late, to think about that.
Good. No, I appreciate it. Well, I think you just nailed a critical point there about you immediately started talking about other people. The reality is, if we want to be involved in a cause greater than ourselves, it has to, of necessity, involve other people. Now, sometimes in the world that we live in today, especially with social media, that seems to rank our influence on the world, and I'll use that word influence deliberately with the social media context, as something important when you have more followers, more friends, more likes. We seem to rate it as we are more important the bigger our following. That isn't the case. It's not the case. We can make a difference to one person's life, and that can be life-changing for them and life-changing for us. Yeah. Now, of course, in Nikan, we want to think bigger than one person. Our goal is certainly not to have a customer. Yeah. Because one thing that I have found, and this is the neat thing. First of all, I want to emphasize to Pam's earlier point about her evolving, changing purpose, is as experience comes our way, our purpose does evolve and our dreams and aspirations get bigger. I know, for example, one second. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I've got a little boy home wanting to use my phone as a playing device, so excuse the little interruption. Thank you. This is the important thing. Is I remember a number of years ago, I was a missionary for my church, and I remember reaching out and having a wonderful experience within the first month that I was out there on my assigned in my assigned area. And there was a wonderful lady that I got to know who was 16 years old. She was pregnant and she was teaching herself to read. She was illiterate. She was teaching herself to read. And the reason that she wanted to learn to read broke my heart. She said, because when I have this little baby, I want to be able to read her bedtime stories. And right now I can't do that. That cut me right to the heart. That was painful. That was painful. She'd had a terrible life. Her mother had asked her father for a divorce a number of years before. Her father, so devastated by the request, took his own life. Her mother, so devastated at the consequence of her request, had a nervous breakdown, and that left her and her sister without any parents. And they got separated out and put into foster care. And she ended up as a young 16-year-old, pregnant, illiterate, looking for ways to improve her life. It was both heartbreaking but wonderfully rewarding being able to sit with her and get blown away when I would ask her certain questions, and she'd say, she said to me once, she said, I realized why I struggle with your questions, because sometimes she'd struggle to give me answers to my questions as we were going through this teaching experience. She said, you always ask me how I feel about what you've said or about what you've taught. You always ask me how I feel, and I struggle to answer because no one's ever asked me how I feel before. Gone through all of that, and no one's ever asked her how she feels? My goodness me, that was... So anyway, coming out of that experience, being able to have made a difference in her life in a meaningful way, we've become dear friends. And I remember coming away from that going, gosh, if I had no other experience for these next 2 years, and I just had to work my backside off and labor and labor and labor, but that was the only human connection that I got in this 2-year experience, it would all be worth it. It would all be worth it. But then, of course, human nature kicks in and you go, but if I could have it again, that would be great. Yeah, I'd love to have another one. I'd love to have another experience. I'd love to have more of that. And the reason I share that story is when we get to make a difference in someone's life and we feel that connection, the natural desire is to have more of it. Of all the things that we crave in life as human beings, connection and meaning are at the very top. Yes, we need food and shelter, but putting aside the things that provide sustenance and protection for our physical bodies, what our minds and hearts need is connection and meaning. And when we get a little bit of it, we always crave more. Yeah. So if you start out small right now in defining your business mission, or your business purpose, I should say, if you start out small right now, that's okay. That's okay, because it should evolve and it should grow and it should get bigger. And the more experience you have, the more connection you get with others, the more you will naturally want to grow it, and the more confidence you will have that you can, because you'll have evidence from your previous experience that you can do it again. Once you get a bit of evidence, once you get a bit of experience, you know, yes, I want that, I want to have more. Yes, I want that, I want to have more. And it grows wonderfully in proportion to that experience. So I want to ask some questions in the last couple of minutes. You can write these down if you like. But first of all, I want to give some guidance as to how we facilitate this process. One, take your time. This isn't something that we accomplish or complete in a 30-minute webinar, right? Today, we're just giving you some motivation or some inspiration to start the process and some guidance as to how to facilitate it with yourself, okay? So start, first of all, by giving yourself a little bit of time to get it done. Make sure that you've got time in a creative context, because this is a creative process. Don't edit yourself as you go, okay? Don't try to get this into a flowery, concise, poetic statement in your first run at it. Just write down your thoughts, write down your feelings, let them be rough and jagged and cumbersome in your mouth as they come out. Just get it out, okay? Don't edit yourself. You'll have time to craft and edit later. But start that process by just getting your thoughts printed out first. Next thing, don't worry about developing or making sure that it's connected to some type of supporting data. What does the research show? What does someone else do? What are other people saying? What are their driving purposes? Don't worry about all of that just yet, okay? You can connect to that later. You want to make sure that there is some relevance to your purpose. Yeah, you want to make sure that there is some supporting data that backs it up, that makes it meaningful in an authentic, legitimate way, but you don't have to worry about that straight off. And then the last point is, do it just for you. We talk about sharing our goals, but as we're crafting our purpose, this is something that's going to be initially deeply personal. So don't worry straight out the gate about sharing it with someone else yet. Yeah. Make it a personal journey. Make this something that's almost akin to a journal entry. Yeah. Write it out, brainstorm, make your notes, don't edit, give yourself some time, get creative, put yourself in a space where that creativity can flow. Don't edit, like I said, and don't worry about sharing it with others just yet. Just craft it, play with it, have some fun with it, and then get to a point where you go, I think I'm on this. I think I'm on it. Now, what questions should we ask ourselves to help us to get that purpose? Like I said, at the heart of it, we've already discussed this already. It's got to be centered on a cause greater than us. What does that mean in real terms? Because we've heard that phrase before. Maybe that can be a little bit ambiguous when it comes to really defining it for me. A cause greater than us always involves someone else. It always involves someone else. And like I said, it can be one person. In a family environment, my cause that is greater than me is my wife and children. That actually turns out to be quite a lot, because there's 10 of us in total. But even if there's just one of you, one other person, that's a great cause in and of itself. If it's just you and a loved one, yeah? And whoever that loved one might be, it might be a dear friend. My life is to make their life better, yeah? One person can make all the difference to our cause when we really love them, when we're invested in them. So what you'll also see here is, yes, people need to become front and center to our cause, but it's going to be meaningful to us when we love them. If I don't love people, one of your starting points is going to have to be to work on that. Now, in a Niken environment, I think one of the things that attracts a lot of Niken people to Niken is they love people. I've often joked to my wife when we've been to events, frustratingly many years ago now, because so many of them are all virtual now, but when we get together, the meeting after the meeting would always be a big rush. emotional rush, yeah, because everyone's talking to each other and they're chatting, and it's like you're never going to get to your hotel room at a decent hour tonight because everyone's gas bagging and chatting and catching up and talking. Whenever there's a little activity in the meeting where, okay, turn to the person next to you and discuss this, or find someone in the room that you haven't spoken to yet and answer this question. And then boom, the energy just goes through the roof. Everyone in Nikken loves to talk to people. And I've always joked about that with Kim and said, look, this is why they're in Nikken, because they just love being with other people. Yeah. So that's a starting point. Love being with other people. Maybe take some time to think, what is it I love about my interactions with others? What gives me value and meaning there? What is it about these interactions that I love so much? Yeah, maybe answer some of those questions so that you can facilitate and create more of those situations. Yeah. But we all know when we have those connections with our customers, with our business partners, when suddenly the light goes on in someone's head because of a conversation we're having, oh, it's a feel-good moment, isn't it? It's a great feel-good moment when they catch the vision and they get excited. So some questions to ask yourself if you get stuck and you're wanting to connect with identifying what my purpose is. We know it should involve other people. We know it should be centered on loving other people. How do I demonstrate that love? How do I express that? How is that reflected in a business setting so that my meaning and my purpose here really come to the forefront? Here are some questions you can ask. First one, what do my customers or my business partners say about me? It's a good question to ask. What do they say about me? If you're struggling to think of some answers, I'll give you some samples here. How do I make their lives more efficient or meaningful? How do I reduce stress in their life? If my products or my service, which we know they do, our products are wonderful, impact someone's life for the better, in what way does it make their life better? How am I improving their lives? And if I'm improving their lives, how am I improving their families? That's a great question to ask. How am I improving the lives of the families of the people that I touch? What impact do I have on them? Okay. How am I different to my competition? Now, the starting point there might be, who is my competition? Yeah. Have you defined that? Don't immediately think of a network marketing company. Yeah. Think of the cause that you are fulfilling. What are you doing for your customers? What value are you giving them? Okay, so think in that context first. What value am I offering my customers? What value am I offering my business partners? And to that point, where else in the world can my business partners, my potential business partners, or my customers, where else can they get this type of value or service? Now, don't get all big-headed straight out the gate and go, well, nowhere else, because I'm second to none, right? We want you to think and feel that, but we want you to be realistic. We need to understand what differentiates us from other people in what we're offering. It's really important, because the reality is, if they're not spending their money with you, they're going to be spending it with someone else. If they're not spending their time with you, they're going to be spending it with someone else. Why? Why would they choose to go somewhere else to spend their money, to look after their health, or to invest in their future versus with you? Okay, why would they do that? Where would they go? And what is the competition saying or doing or offering there that you need to be better than? How do you differentiate? Okay, so make some notes on that. Like I said, don't immediately go, well, our competition is other home-based business opportunities. It isn't necessarily. Yeah, it's typically something more deeper than that, and more competitive than that. Where do they go to look for help with their health? Where do they go to look for confidence and hope and security in their futures? Where are they getting that from? Is it meeting their needs? How can I offer a competitive advantage and a unique point of differentiation? Okay, let's ask that. Last question, and then I'll wrap up, because we're getting to the end of time. We've gone over our time here. Is, on my best day ever in my business, what do I love about what I do? I love that question. I think it's important. Not what do I love about what I do? On the best day in my business, what does that look like? And why do I love it? What do I love about what I do? Okay, let's craft that a little bit, because that will help you identify as you discuss this now, and you piece these together, you'll start to see there is something special that drives you and motivates you that you can work with and develop and focus on. What is it that my customers or my business partners say about me in a positive context? What do they say? What is important to me? What do I want them to be saying? Yeah. And maybe you might need to start with that one. What do I want them to be saying? Might be a more directed question. On my best day ever, what do I love about what I do? Who is my competition? Why? And how am I better? How can I be different? And of course, what is it that I love about interacting with other people? What makes that meaningful for me? As we start to look there, we'll start to see ways that we are connected to human beings, in ways that we love them and that we value that meaning and that connection that we have when we're together with them. And there, in this business space, because they're business directed questions, you can start to craft what your unique purpose is. To that end, I want to just ask a couple of final questions for you to consider as you then distill that down, craft it into a concise statement that you can repeat to yourself, remind yourself of, and be driven by on a daily basis. Okay, this is a little deeper and more profound and certainly more impactful than a mission statement that we often create. Mission statements are typically centered on business needs, business purpose, and that kind of stuff. And it's often to the exclusion of the customer or the people we're serving. This is really putting the customer, the business partner, other people front and center, isn't it? Making it all about them and your connection and commitment to them. So here's the questions that you want to ask as you craft this. Is it short? Is it easy to understand? Is it concrete? Is it exciting? It certainly should be exciting. I know I get really excited when I see opportunities for me to make a difference in someone else's life. I love that in a meaningful way. I love it. Here's a good one. Could you explain it to your kids? Or perhaps to a child, maybe grandkids. Yeah. But can you explain it to a child? That is really important. When you can explain it to a child and have them understand it, you're nailing it. Yeah. Would you feel proud to share this with your neighbor? What a great mission that would be, or a great purpose, where you can proudly share it to a neighbor and easily explain it to a child, and it excites and motivates and inspires you. Does it make you want to get out of bed in the morning? And would you be proud for your customers to read it? Yeah, we talked before about not sharing it initially, but that's initially. Yeah, at some point you want to be able to shout this from the rooftops, because this driving purpose that you have, that you define and make concrete, will end up becoming one of the greatest sales tools that you have in recruiting your business partners. People join you far more than they join NECAM, which is why I said network marketing companies aren't the competition, because you're not with the competition, you're with NECAM. People are joining you, they're partnering with you. When they sign up, they go, I want to do business with you. That's what they're saying, that's what they're doing. And this driving piece of purpose will connect you with others in a meaningful way. And it should then permeate, going back to that image that I showed before, the other 5 critical P's, out where purpose is front and center as the 6th one, or as the first, I should say. Those other P's of profit, process, promotion, people, and so on, all of those get equal balance then, and they get appropriate focus, because our purpose is front and center and it's on the right things. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much for participating. I've loved seeing the notes being written as we've been going through this today. I think this is an important exercise to go through. In fact, I know this is an important exercise to go through. It will help craft your daily activities. It will improve your daily methods of operation. It will give you greater impetus and motivation to pick up the phone and to call people and to speak to people. It'll give you greater reason to invest in your business because it'll give you greater opportunity in return to connect with more people, have deeper connections and more valuable meaning in what you're doing. And that is where we get the deep and profound sense of fulfillment. And as a byproduct of all of that, you become a top performer as a consequence. If you want to be a top performer, follow what the research says. Be driven by purpose versus by mechanics. Yeah, that'll make all the difference. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much for letting me bend your ear for 40 minutes today instead of 30. I hope it's been worthwhile and time well spent, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Really great, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you back.